the first and most important thing you need to know is that New Jersey has the most corrupt ballot design in the entire nation. That's not exaggeration. It's not hyperbole. It is absolutely true. We are the only state in the nation that has a ballot that looks like this. And how it looks is there will be machine Democrats, and they will be in one long column. Sometimes it's vertical, sometimes it's horizontal, which also adds to voter confusion because you can be in one county and your ballot go horizontal. You can be in another one and it goes vertical. Like it's all over the place. There's no standardization. And they'll all be in one long column. And anybody who is challenging the machine in some way, shape, or form, even if you are a totally valid candidate, somebody like Bernie Sanders, you'll be placed in random places on the ballot. So you might be all the way out to the side, way away from the column, which is where they call ballot Siberia. You might be way down at the bottom where somebody's eyes won't naturally gravitate to. You might be way in the top corner, right? You're going to be somewhere that's weird and awkward and placed in a way where it's like, okay, like no one's really going to look there. And if they do, they're going to assume you're some wackadoo because you're not in the long line of Democrats with names that they know. And so what this does is it causes voter confusion. Voters go in there wanting to do their due diligence, wanting to vote, like good Democrats, and they'll look straight for the Democrats in that long column. And they'll say, okay, I recognize these names. I recognize Booker. I recognize, Menendez or, Donald Payne, whoever on down. They'll recognize them, Joe Biden. And they'll say, okay, I'm a Democrat. Here's where the serious Democrats are. This is where I'm going to go vote down. Not knowing that those are the Democrats that are super, super corrupt and are typically responsible for the many issues that they're having or, the lack of response that they're having for their issues, from everything from lead in the water to foreclosure to ICE facilities. Those are the folks in this column. Now, contrast that with what the rest of the country's ballots look like. In the rest of the country, anyone who is running for the same position is going to be in the same little box. So let's take the Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden example. They're both running for president, so they're going to be in the same box one after another. There's a little bit of data that says whoever comes first sometimes get the advantage, but it's so statistically slight that it really doesn't matter that much. So the people who are running for the same position are going to be in that same box, and there's going to be another box for senator, another box for Congress, et cetera, so that voters aren't just going like straight down a line. They actually have to look and see who they're voting for each time, which again causes less voter confusion and makes it overall more fair. And people have done studies on the ballot line and its effects, and in some cases it has been it's given an advantage of up to like somewhere around 35%, like just off of being placed on the ballot line. That's like without campaigning, without anything else, just being placed on that ballot line, you can already start ahead around 35 or so points. So it's the most corrupt ballot design in the entire nation, and it has been screwing us for a very, very long time, to say the least.
So if you guys are the picture you guys have on the screen, if you could just zoom in on that top section there so that the viewers can see a little bit better. Yep, okay, right there. Yeah. So this is what the line looks like. And you can see that Joe Biden in column B has Cory Booker, has the congressman who I ran against, and then has a county official called Jerry Walker. And what this does is it gives voters the false impression that Joe Biden is endorsing every single person underneath them. And what most voters do is they see Joe Biden, okay, I want to vote for him. And then you just go down the line and you vote for every other person in that same line. And anybody who is a part of a column that is in any way incomplete, to the average voter, looks to you as if you're somehow an illegitimate voter or an illegitimate candidate. So you'll see somebody named Will Sheehan on column D, all the way in the right. That person maybe got 1,000 votes because of the position that they're on in the ballot. Saying nothing about their policies, the legitimacy of their candidacy. Just putting them in this part of the ballot, which we call ballot Siberia, essentially means that there's no way you're going to win that election. If you put an elected person, an incumbent, in ballot Siberia, they will lose that election to whoever is part of the complete up to down ballot line. And so this has the dual purpose of it predetermines who will win an election, and then it gives voters a false impression as to who is a legitimate and who is an illegitimate candidate. And the reason I like this example so much is because supposedly the way that you form a complete column is by your slogan. And I know that you can't exactly see it because the wording is a little small. But if you look on Bernie Sanders, he and him on column C and us on column A actually have the same slogan. So this was further game playing where they split us off from Bernie Sanders to prevent progressives from having the appearance of a legitimate complete line. If we had Bernie Sanders above us on column A, it would have posed a huge threat to this system that they have, because then voters would say, hey, wait, there's two complete lines this time. How is that even possible? The goal is to only have one complete line, and that line is the establishment approved candidates. And that's how this system works.
So what does A1 sponsorship cost? Because basically that's what this looks like to me. So do you buy your position?
Oh no. The ballot is determined in a random draw. Yeah, exactly. It's randomly drawn every time. It just so happens that the establishment gets the same column every single time.
And this is ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous. I cannot believe this is legal.
Who makes this?
I'd also add there is a person called the county clerk who also, and it's pretty interesting because the county clerk can actually, like, legally, if they so chose, they could choose to put the ballot as like the regular ballot that the rest of the country has. But again, county clerk.
Yes, but then they could choose to end up in the Hudson River. So,
and they could choose.
Well, not only that, but the county clerk is a position that you have to run for, and so the machine runs their county clerk person. So you never get one that's like, honest. You always get a machine.
I will say, at least here, the way that we do it is alphabetical order by last name. So for each category. So to me, that's as fair as you could possibly make where you literally check a box, and it's pretty decent. This should not be allowed. This is absurd.
One more anecdote to throw on this is that there was once a county clerk who for 30 years always picked the correct ballot for the establishment candidates, constantly giving them the premier ballot on column A. Everybody wants column A because it's the one you see first when you look at the ballot. So as progressives, we were very, very happy in 2020 when in the random draw, we actually got column A. What we didn't know is that they would split Bernie Sanders off of our column and put him by himself.
That's the controversy right there.
Yeah.
If column A and column C is not a deliberate move on the establishment's part to basically throw people off because they know that they can't win a fair fight.
That's the controversy. Why the fuck are there columns? Like, this is just the most ridiculous looking thing ever. This looks like a course schedule for, like,
it actually looks like
high school student.
It looks like a report. No, it looks like a report card.
And like Imani said before, there's so much voter confusion. So people would not know that you could vote for Joe Biden and then vote for Larry Ham on column A and then vote for somebody else on column. People don't know that. So we would get a lot of people saying, look, Bernie Sanders is on column C and you're on column A. Can I vote for each of you? And we'd have to explain to a ton of people, yes, you can. But then for each person that you explain this to, there's thousands of voters who don't know that. And in fact, we would call voters and they would say, this is in a Democratic primary, they would say, oh, don't worry, I voted for all the Democrats. And that's coded language for they just voted down the line.
Because this whole thing is Democrats. Exactly, this is what's fascinating. This is a primary election. This is crazy.
So if somebody during the primary says I voted for all the Democrats, it means that they didn't vote for you.
And what if it goes in the other direction in another county? So you can't even say that you have to choose. You can't just put out a generic statement saying you have to pick somebody from each column, because it could be in another county, you have to pick somebody from each row. So you can't even, that's a train wreck.
And sometimes there will be people who work the like poll workers who will say, "Oh, yeah, you want to vote down this one if you're a Democrat." Like that actually happened in my election. That there were poll workers, and we actually reported this, but of course to no avail.
I was going to say that's definitely not allowed. That's
yeah, but they'll say like, "Oh yeah, you vote straight down this." One time, I actually went in and I wrote in. Because they were all machine people running. There was no progressives running in that race. And I actually wrote in a Bosch line, like in the space where you can write in names. And I went to go, give it to the lady to give it to the scanner. And she was like, "You can't do this." And I was like, "Ma'am, you are talking to the wrong person. I assure you that I can do that." And she was like, no, you're supposed to vote here. And I'm like, "Ma'am, I can do this. Put it through." And then another poll worker who came over was like, no, she can do that. She can do that. And then they hurried up and put it through the scanner. So like, it's I mean, sometimes even poll workers can be confused by it or like purposely, steer people in the wrong direction.
Thanks for watching. If you want to support our mission to transform politics into service, please like this video, subscribe, follow us on social media, and consider joining our Patreon, where you'll get early access to our interviews as well as other exclusive content. Links are in the description. Peace out.